everybody doing?
Good.
Well, as she said, my name is J.Renee, and I am particularly excited to be here tonight because I have been to New York several times for work. I've been to New York for play. I've been to New York for shopping, but this is the first time I am speaking in New York. So, this is a big deal for me, so I am so excited to be here, and thank you to Tandra for even, honestly, I don't even know how she found me. We didn't even have that conversation, but I am so excited to be here sharing with you all. And so, wasn't that panel great?
Yeah.
They don't need me. They dropped a lot of goods on that panel, but I'm going to give a different pull, really more of a push tonight with my message to you all. One thing about me, baby, I keep it real. I don't know how to do nothing else but keep it real, and I'm going to do that today, but I'm going to challenge you in a way that you probably weren't expecting. We've talked about worth from the perspective of dating and dealing with the whole idea of settling and things like that, but I'm glad somebody brought it up on the end. I forgot what her name was, the girl with the short hair. Abiel. Who are you outside of that? So tonight, let's talk. My single sister, wherever she went, I love that. Who are you if you're single? What exactly are you worth outside of the context of a man? What are you worth outside of the context of being a wife or being a mother? What if you're never any of those things? What's your conversation about worth about men? Who are you worth as a professional woman? What are you worth as a professional woman? What are you worth as a woman of integrity? I mean, who and what are you if you don't ever have a baby and if you don't ever get married? Let's talk about what that woman is worth. So what defines worth? What exactly defines worth? You guys are talking. Somebody throw something out. What do you think defines your worth?
Respect.
Respect? Character? Education? All of these things are good. They're all things that speak to what we believe we're worth. So to lay the foundation, all humans were created equal.
Yes.
Every life matters. Black lives matter. White lives matter. Hispanic lives matter. Every life matters. We understand that. Every woman, every creature is deserving of a certain amount of respect. We all understand that. But when you begin to deal with the concept that my sister mentioned of assets versus liabilities, the conversation changes. Because we're not all worth the same in that way. I know that's a challenging idea to accept, that somebody else could be worth more than me. But when you begin to talk about assets versus liabilities, what is an asset? An asset is something that adds value or appreciates. Liability takes away. It depreciates. So if you're an asset, you add value to whatever situation you come into. If you're a liability, you cause problems. So truth be told, all of us are not assets. Some of us are liabilities. Well, some of us come into situations and cause problems. So when you start talking about worth, when you have assets and liabilities, it ain't the same thing. It's not the same thing. So tonight we're going to deal with that. So what exactly determines your worth? Okay? So I love shoes. And the purpose of every shoe is pretty much the same. It covers your feet, right?
Right.
The purpose of a house for everybody is pretty much the same. A house is a place to live and a place to lay your head. Hotels all pretty much serve the same purpose. It's a place for you to lay temporarily, or it should be. But all shoes don't cost the same. All houses don't cost the same. All hotel stays are not the same, especially not when you talk about New York, Lord. These hotel prices, woo! But so what increases the value of these things? Let's look specifically at real estate, because I love real estate. So what increases the value of real estate? Well, number one, location. Location increases value. People want locations that are hot and easily accessible, things like that. Care, how well taken care of a property, is. Is it something that's running to the ground, or have you, put time and care into it? The aesthetics, how contemporary is it? Does it still look like 1980, or does it look contemporary? And a lot of times we think that age determines value, when in all actuality, it's old houses that are extremely valuable. But, again, that care, that aesthetic. Have you put time and energy into keeping that thing up to date? These are all things that increase the value of real estate. Size increases the value of real estate. So what makes a person more valuable? $1 million question. 3 things that I believe make a person more valuable, particularly make a woman more valuable. Well, the first thing is integrity. Integrity matters. Integrity says a lot about who you are, what you believe, and integrity definitely defines if you're going to be an asset or if you're going to be a liability. Do you tell the truth? Are you consistent? Are you reliable? These are things that determine, these things determine your worth and ultimately determine your value in a situation. Case in point, if my president, Barack Obama, just so we're clear, if my president Barack Obama walked in the room right now, first of all, half of our wigs would be off. We would lose it. We would go crazy. We'd be shaking. We'd be stuttering. We'd be crying. If Donald Trump walked in the room, it would be a totally different response. Now, Donald Trump is wealthy. Donald Trump is the president of y'all's United States. Ain't my president. But when we talk about integrity, we're having 2 different conversations when we talk about Barack Obama and Donald Trump. Barack Obama commands a certain amount of respect because of who he is and how he carried himself in office and out of office. I mean, I'm proud of the fact that the only black president we had was scandal-free. That's integrity. And because of that, he's valuable, and he's not just valuable to black people, he's valuable, period, whether they want to say it or not. He's valuable because of his integrity. These types of things increase your value. The second thing is intentionality. Are you someone that makes things happen, or are you someone that waits for things to happen? How much of your life have you taken responsibility for? I know we like to talk about, he didn't see my worth, he didn't see my value, and, blah, 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 he cheated on me, or whatever else we want to whine about in a relationship, but how much of that thing was your responsibility? Because sometimes we're the reason why relationships go wrong. I know when we get in these yah-yah sister circle women empowerment thing, we just want to gas each other up, but we don't want to talk about the real deal. But one thing about me, baby, I'm going to keep it real. How much of that was your responsibility? Can you manage your emotions? Did you cause some problems in that relationship? Somebody said something about learning when to go off and when not to go off, and things like that. How much of this are you taking control of? How much of this are you taking responsibility of? And then your career. Are you the person that walks around, woe is me all the time, crying because you're not getting the job that you want? Or are you being intentional about putting yourself in positions to become better, or putting yourself in positions to be exposed to other things? Are you furthering your education? How many books do you read? Are you intentional? Do you make it happen, or do you wait for it to happen? These are things that determine your value and determine your worth. Because see, the thing is, a lot of us, I love the creative space that we're in now, because, everybody can do anything they want. If I canvas the room, half this room probably got, important Instagram bios. We all have an organization, we all have these things, and a lot of times, we get in these spaces where, we begin to question and we get down on ourselves, and, people aren't coming to my events, or, I don't have the following, or, and we just, woe is me. But how much of that are we really stepping out and taking responsibility for? Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur and things aren't going the way that I want them to, but how much of that can be improved as a result of my intentionality? These are things that increase the value and the worth of a person. The third thing, which is probably one of the biggest things, which is kind of a piggyback off the second one, but the third thing is investment. The problem with investment is that most of us want to command and demand a certain amount of respect that we haven't even worked for. We want to command and demand a dollar amount on our skills, on our services that we have not worked for. We want to walk into a relationship and demand that the man brings a certain amount of things to the table, and we ain't bringing nothing.
Not quiet.
Listen, it's quiet in this Presbyterian church. Listen, how much have you invested in the person that you believe you are? You say you're worth this and you're worth that. You say that your services are worth this and your services are worth that, but how much have you invested in yourself to say that you're worth that? Because truth be told, baby, again, we ain't all the same. We're all created equal, but what we do after creation is our responsibility. Everybody's not doing the same thing after creation. Let's be clear.
That's good. That's good.
So, case in point, it's like, okay, believe it or not, y'all, me and Beyonce have a lot in common. So, I have a background in the performing arts. From a child, I grew up in a musical family. So I played and I sang. Speaking of family, I'm so happy my cousin Tony is here in the back. But so I grew up in a musical family. Everybody in my family plays, sings, so I did that from the time I was a child. My parents were pastors, so I was a super active PK that played, sang in church my whole life. I danced from 6 to 17. Ballet, tap, jazz, modern. I did it competitively. I could tell she was a dancer by the way she was sitting in that chair. But I have this extensive background in the performing arts. I did forensics, I did theater, I did all of these things, even into college. I was a commercial music minor in college. I furthered my education in piano and vocal training. So if you ask me to get up on this stage right now, I could actually put on a pretty decent show. I really could entertain you all. I could. But it would be completely and totally foolish of me to think that the show that I put on tonight would compare to the same show that Beyonce would put on if she was standing up here. See, the difference between me and Beyonce is that, we have natural gifts and we're both natural performers. We can turn on when we get in front of people. But baby, Beyonce has invested some things into her life and her career that I have not.
That's good.
So it would be foolish of me to believe completely and totally just, and this is how a lot of people think, I can charge the same for a ticket as Beyonce. Even though my investment is not the same. Even though she's worked years to perfect her craft, and I've just been sitting, I done went on and did other things. I became hairstylist, makeup artist, I done retired, I done opened a store, you know what I'm saying? It's not the same conversation.
Good.
So you have to understand, you have to work and you have to be intentional about making investments in yourself and who you are and what you do to be able to get that Beyonce ticket. We want that Beyonce ticket, but most people don't want to work. We're all created equal.
That's true.
But what we do after creation is what makes the difference.
Yes.
Good.
So how much are you investing in yourself? If you feel, again, a lot of people, I've heard, there's some amazing women in here, business owners, it might be some authors in here, people have organizations, people have, all these things. And if you haven't seen the success that you want to see, well, how much have you invested in it? If your business is not doing as well, one thing about it, business, whatever you do, I guarantee you somebody else has done it, got rich doing it, and wrote a book about it. Have you read it? When is the last time you went to a workshop to further your education?
Right.
So while you're sitting up here, and then, one thing, so like I said, I just retired from the beauty industry, and one thing I was always very intentional about, if I raised my prices, I had an explanation for why my prices went up. I didn't always give it to people, but if you ask me, I can tell you. I don't have to explain nothing. You know what I'm saying? But if somebody asked me, I could look you in the face and say, well, I decided to move into a bigger space so I could better accommodate my customers, and this is why the price went up. Well, I decided to bring on, a new line. I took an educational class on cutting, and now because of the fact that I'm offering this service, then the price went up. There was always an explanation. I didn't ever jack no price if I didn't have an explanation. The problem is we want to raise the price, but what are we investing for the explanation?
That's good.
If you want to be able to charge more, baby, you want to be worth more.
Yes.
I told you I'm gonna push y'all today. You know, we done hugged and held hands and we're sisters. Now I'm gonna push you a little bit. It's time to up the price. You have 3 things. Just like these are things that determine your worth, these are 3 ways to increase your worth. Integrity, intentionality, and investment. Say integrity, intentionality, and investment. So now that, okay, we've laid the foundation, this is how you determine your worth. So how do you be confident in that? Well, I'm glad you asked. How do you be confident in that? Knowing is half the battle, but the other half is being confident in that. This is the space where most people struggle, and this is the problem. Most of us would never question our worth. Pretty much none of us would ever question our worth if we had never been rejected. Nobody, you know, half the time, you know, our funny looking childhood years, we would have never thought we were funny looking if nobody said nothing to us about it. Seriously. I still remember the first time somebody, you know, it was a little boy I liked in the 5th grade. I still remember when he told me I was ugly. I was like, what? Because I ain't never heard that before. You know what I'm saying? I never questioned it until he said it. You know? So, you know, thank God for wax and threading. But when I was growing up, you know, my eyebrows just kind of did one straight swipe. But I never noticed it until one day me and my brothers were joking around and my brother said, you know, your eyebrows are so big they connect to your hairline. And something I'm like, you know, are my eyebrows big? You know, these are things that begin to make me question, you know, and then particularly as it pertains to worth, you know, half of us would have thought we were amazing women forever if we were never cheated on. You know, we would have thought that we were the best person every single time if we got every job we applied for. We don't really question our worth until somebody else does. And the problem is we don't know how to recover quickly, from rejection. We fester in that thing. Somebody could have rejected you again, you know, when you were a child. Like that little situation with the boy calling me ugly. I held on to that thing for years. He went on with his life. I went on with my life. Dated, did all types of stuff, and still remembered in the back of my head this dude called me ugly, and I can't wait for him to see me again. What you got to say? What? I look better than your wife. You know, but we don't recover. We hold on to that thing. And it festers, and, you know, never mind. But rejection, you know, rejection is like a parasitic demon. You know, it attaches, and then it's just going to pull. You know, and it keeps pulling, and it's going to begin to pull down different areas, and next thing you know, your entire life, the way you function, the way you interact with people has changed, and it's sick, and it's twisted, and you don't even know that you're grown as all get out, living as this little rejected 7-year-old whose sister told them, you know, we're better than you because your hair is nappy. You know, little things like that. So you have to learn how to recover from rejection quickly. Now, these are the keys, though. 2 very simple things that you need to understand as adults, as we're talking about dating, as we're talking about professional movement, as we're talking about entrepreneurship. These are 2 things that you need to understand when it comes to being confident in your worth and being able to recover in situations where somebody else can't see it. The first thing is understanding preferences. Everybody is entitled to a preference. Every single one. Some of us in here got a whole lot of preferences. But you know, everybody's entitled to a preference. And just because somebody doesn't choose you doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It just may mean you're not their preference. Right. You know, if you ask me right now what type of man I like, I could go and name it all the way down. And that's my preference. But the problem is, we think that because of the fact that we have a preference, our preference is always supposed to prefer us as well. How that work? Right. You know, other people are not allowed to have preferences. You have to be somebody else's preference, but you're allowed to, you know, say, no, that's not what I want. We're allowed to move on because we don't want to waste our time, but they can't move on because they think they're wasting their time with us. Ouch! Everybody is entitled to preferences. You know, some people, you know, like Chick-fil-A. Some people like KFC. You know, some people are vegan. You know what? Let me hear this because this is the hot thing right now. You know, I know it's vegan. Any vegans in the room? Okay, one. So I know that's the cool thing to do now.
9 years.
I know, that's the cool thing to do now, and I absolutely support the vegan movement. You know, I believe it's great, it's beautiful, whatever. But as for me in my house, I'm going to eat chicken, and I'm going to eat crab legs till the day I die. Now, does that make a vegan, any more special than me because, they prefer to live that lifestyle? Absolutely not. You know what I'm saying? It's not a situation of hierarchy. This is what you prefer, and this is what I prefer. And that's it. Sometimes it's just that simple. Sometimes you're just not somebody's preference. Okay. And that's fine. I was thinking, what a lot of people fail to realize is that, number one, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how beautiful you are, how talented you are. At some point in your life, you're going to be rejected. If you haven't already been rejected, you're going to be rejected again and again and again and again at different points in your life. Rejection is not limited to just, I don't want you or you're not going to get the job. Rejection is also, I didn't buy a ticket to your event. Mm-hmm. Rejection is also, I didn't buy your book. Right. Rejection is also, I didn't like your picture. Because we get in our feelings about that. You didn't like my picture. I know you saw it. These are all forms of rejection. But these are all situations where people have preferences. And they have options to say, I want to do it or I don't want to do it. And that's their prerogative. We got to stop getting in our feelings about not being somebody's preference. We have to kill this pride and this sense of entitlement that says that you're always supposed to do what I want you to do. We got to grow up. Stop acting like little spoiled kids and throwing temper tantrums and being ready to jump off bridges and slit our wrists because people didn't do what we wanted them to do in a situation. Everybody is entitled to what? Preferences. Second thing, understand that people are also entitled to their own price point. A lot of times what we think is rejection is just people just flat out can't afford us.
Come on now.
It's not that they didn't want to choose you, they just couldn't afford you.
Well, that's good.
That was something that I had to learn, even again working in the beauty industry. I was very clear on my time, how long I was going to be there, what I wanted to accomplish, and I knew my mission was different. And because of the fact that my mission was different, my prices were different. And I watched time and time again people that I knew choose other people. And at first it used to get me in my feelings, but eventually I realized they just can't afford me.
Right.
And understand that a person being able to afford you is not based on how much money they have.
That's good.
It's based on priority. And sometimes we're putting out things that just aren't that important to people. And it's not a hit on you. You may have wrote an amazing book about domestic violence, but every woman don't want to be free. So she could be a millionaire, but she can't afford your book because it's just not that important to her. And it has nothing to do with you or has nothing to do with what you're worth. Everybody doesn't care about what they're worth. So, it's some women that got, tons of money that couldn't afford to come to this event. It didn't have nothing to do with what was in the bag. But it just wasn't that important to them. And, so I was thinking, as I was thinking about this idea, if we drive down the street right now, we're going to see way more Hondas and Chevys on the street than we see Bentleys and Rolls Royces. Now, from a black and white perspective, just looking at dollars, not even dollars and cents, but just looking at numbers, we'll think automatically if we see a lot of them, then they're worth more than the thing that we don't see that much of. When in all actuality, if we put that thing on paper, it takes 5 Hondas to make one of those. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it is, when you're worth more, you have to get used to being chosen less.
Ooh, that's good. Say that again.
When you're worth more, you got to get used to being chosen less. Everybody can't afford you, boo. And that's okay, though, but that's the decision that you made. You said, I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to walk in integrity. I'm going to be intentional about my life. And now I've moved into a space where everybody can't afford me. So everybody's not going to call me to come speak at their event, and that's cool. That's cool. It's a whole lot of people that will be calling on you for your services. It's a whole lot of people that will be buying your products if they were free. Everybody can't see the value. So, sometimes you're going to, again, you have to get used to being chosen less, but you also have to get used to choosing less because you can't afford to go everywhere either. You can't afford to be seen in every space. You can't afford to be, associated with every type of man.
Well, that's good.
Talk about assets versus liabilities.
Come on down.
But let's talk about that. Let me go through your page and find out what am I finna look like if I tag you and somebody go look at you. Are you an asset or are you a liability? I'll stay single. It's okay. You got to get used to it. It's different. It's different. But these are all, like I said, it's preference and it's price point. And people are entitled to that. They are absolutely entitled to that. But what you need to understand is that when you set your price and you set your value, you don't come down. Period. You don't come down. This is kind of a, sometimes I feel like I should say stuff like this. Sometimes I feel like I shouldn't because I'm a business owner. But the reality is, like, the reason why people have sales is because of the fact that people aren't buying at full price. If everybody bought at full price, we would never have sales. There's no reason to. I own a store, and when I drop a new product, or if I drop a stream of products and they go crazy, what I'm gonna put them on sale for? I'm getting the full price. You know what I'm saying? But when I have stuff that's been sitting for a while, I get impatient. This need to go. Let me go ahead and run a sale. That's how that works. So you got to get to a place where you can say, baby, my shelf life is increasing as I sit here. So I'm not going on sale.
Come on now.
I don't care how many people can't afford me.
Say that.
One thing that, a lot of people would be really surprised to know that I'm like really a tomboy. I'm a girly girl, but I'm really, really a tomboy, and I really, really love cars. So, I've studied cars for years. And one thing I thought was very interesting, I love Mercedes. Great brand of cars. But one thing I thought was interesting was, Mercedes is considered to be a luxury vehicle. But as time has progressed, Mercedes has begun to bridge the gap between regular vehicles and luxury. They've created other classes that have lowered the price so that you don't have to be up here to have a Mercedes. An everyday person can have a Mercedes. It's Mercedes that are cheaper than Nissans and, cheaper than some Hondas. So they decided to bridge the gap. And that's beautiful and fine. But meanwhile, you got Bentley up here going in the opposite direction. Bentley ain't coming down. Now, I love all these cars. I've had a Honda. I have a Mercedes. I don't have a Bentley yet. But the point that I'm making is, you have examples of how different companies have moved and how Bentley has still been able to progress. Rolls-Royce has still been able to progress, and their prices are getting higher. Regardless of what's happening with the economy, they've still been going that way. So what are you gonna do? How are you gonna move? Are you trying to be accessible for everybody?
That's good.
Are you gonna set your price and stay? Because as for me and mine, we going up. So, we've talked about understanding your worth, laying the foundation. We've talked about being confident in that. So one of the last things is, how do you maintain it? Because the thing is, everything that starts off valuable don't stay valuable.
That's good.
It's not a one-time fee that makes you valuable forever. We've all seen people, and I hate to even use the example. God rest her soul. We love you, Whitney. Yeah. We really love you, Whitney. Yes. But we watched a decline of somebody who was so talented. She was so beautiful and so great, and we watched her go from here to, we just watched it wasn't slow. We watched a gradual, a pretty consistent decline. We saw a decline in her voice. We saw a decline in her appearance. Now, we all knew Whitney is Whitney, but people wasn't booking Whitney like that anymore. She was showing up late to shows. She was canceling. It takes intentionality to maintain worth. She wasn't just going to remain, the hot commodity because she had a big name. How do you maintain worth? You commit to excellence as a lifestyle.
Nice.
Excellence is not something that you do. Excellence is who you are. In order for you to be excellent in one area, you have to be excellent in all. If you look at the most successful people, I absolutely love Sean Combs. He has been my man crush since 1997. I love him. He has business goals. But you know what? He is the epitome of evolution in business. He's constantly moving. He's the epitome of lifestyle branding. But you know what that man does? He gets up every day and he's working out. He commits to excellence in his life. He commits to excellence at home. He commits to excellence in Bad Boy Entertainment, excellence in Ciroc, excellence in Sean John, excellence in Revolt TV. And as a result, he's maintained his worth.
That's good.
Excellence is a lifestyle. And that's what it takes to maintain your worth. You know, just like, you know, you might have had a little cute banging shape. You know, you hear people talk about all the time, baby, you know, when I was your age, you know, I used to, you know, But, you know, what was up eventually came down. What was slim might have spread it out a little bit. It takes work to maintain that, though.
Talk about it.
You don't, just because you had it at one point don't mean you will have forever. Lord knows, I haven't had any children yet. I haven't had any. I want to have 3. But I think about it all the time. This ain't always going to be like this. And it's going to take some work to maintain it. But that's a decision that you have to make. If you want to keep it there, you will have to work to maintain it. Point blank, period. You're cute, but you ain't that cute. You smart, but you ain't that smart. You're talented, but baby, you are not that talented. And somebody else is going to come along right behind you doing everything that you did better, faster, quicker. It takes work to maintain your worth. So, in that, one more thing I want to say about that. You know, when we think about recovering from rejection, you know, it's much easier to bounce back from something when you know that you did right and you did it in excellence. But you know what? Let us not get a job that, you know, we had the resume, you know, we had everything lined up, our hair was done, the edges were laying down that day, but we showed up late. That thing is going to bother you to the end of time. It's one thing if you just don't get the job because you weren't the preference. But it's another thing when you didn't get it because you weren't at your best that particular day. Yeah, we're going to have our days, you know, sometimes we're going to be off, sometimes it's not going to be right, sometimes them edges just don't care. But with everything in us, when you commit to excellence as a lifestyle, it makes it easier for you to bounce back. It makes it easier for you to say, you know what, it's okay. It didn't work out that time, but this time I'm going to do something different. Or, you know what, I just wasn't a preference that time. I know who I am. I know what I'm worth. You know, that's something that I've had to, you know, even add to my own affirmations because, you know, it's hard. Especially, I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with social media. Sometimes I should be having to log off, just like, let me delete the app for a couple of days. Like, I just don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it because it really has put so many roots of comparison, even when you don't want to do it. Just self-consciously, you're constantly exposed to everybody else's life and everybody else, what everybody else is doing. And, I mean, now you got to have it for pretty much everything, you know? But it's times where I just have to be like, I don't want to see what nobody else is doing. I just need to take a little bit of time to plug into me and remind myself, you're beautiful, you're right on time, you're not too late, you're exactly where you need to be in life. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you just got to disconnect from that. But I'm saying all that to say, when you commit to doing your best, no matter what, it changes the game. Not only does it change the way you perform, but it changes the way you recover. And how many of you know recovery is just as important as performance? Because you're going to get knocked down. You can get knocked down plenty of times. But it definitely changes the game. So the last thing, in conclusion, you know, somebody had mentioned during the panel, the struggle of waiting. And just being impatient. And the reality is, you know, you gotta wait on pretty much everything. There's very few things in life that just happen the way you want when you want. Some people are lucky and that just happens like that for them. But most of us, either I mean, if I canvass the room, matter of fact, how many people in here are waiting for something? You know, it could be a change in your finances. It could be an opportunity for exposure. It could be marriage. It could be for children. Pretty much all of us are waiting for something. But one thing I believe, which I'm glad, you know, I was listening, I'm glad that it is some believing women in here. One thing I know about God is that he allows delays for development. And that's something that I've said that so many times. I said that yesterday, you know, it's just something that keeps coming up as I've had an opportunity to speak to women. God allows delays for development. He's not a waster of time. He's very strategic in everything that he does. So what seems to us as like unnecessary idle time is actually God giving you a grace period to be able to get your stuff together. Because the reality is, if a lot of us, if we got what we said we wanted, when we wanted it, we would screw it up. A lot of us, you know, if we would have got the husband that we wanted when we said we wanted him, he would have lost his mind and left. He would have been sick of you and all your craziness. If we would have got the money, we would have mismanaged it and still been broke. If we would have got the job, we would have been overwhelmed. So God allows delays. He allows seasons of transition for you to get yourself together. But the question is, what are you doing during your season of transition? What are you doing during your delay? Are you sitting at home whining and crying and, you know, so saddening your feelings and, you know, your self-esteem is tore up because you feel like, you know, you just keep getting rejected and people can't see your worth and all this? Or are you reading? Are you writing? Are you studying? Are you practicing? Are you practicing? You know, I think it's amazing. LeBron James, as cold as he is, that man still practices. Beyonce, as cold as she is, she still practices. Almost everything that you do requires practice. So if ain't nobody calling you to speak at your event, or speak at their event, excuse me, go stand in the mirror and practice. So when somebody calls you, it's ready, aim, fire. What you want me to talk about? I can talk about self-worth. I can share my story. I can talk about the mess about, you know, whatever. You're ready for the opportunity. How are you stewarding your time of development? How are you stewarding the space of delay? It matters. So you have to change the way that you're looking at that down season. Change the way that you're looking at that downtime. You know, even for me, you know, as a single woman, I had to change the way I was looking at my single life. I'm not sitting around waiting for a husband. I mean, I'm ready. He can show up any day now.
Okay. All right.
But I'm taking this as time to, you know, I'm building my portfolio, baby. I'm investing. I just bought my second house last year. I'm looking to go into my first investment property this year.
Right.
I'm not sitting around twiddling my thumbs, baby. I ain't got time for that. Because I don't know when he's going to show. And, you know, I pray that he does. In Jesus' name, I believe he's going to. But everybody's not going to get married. And I'm glad that you said that because it's the God honest truth. Everybody's not. So you need to learn how to do something else with your life other than twiddling your thumbs and wondering when is this going to be over. Change the way that you're looking at that space. Understand that you're really not being rejected. You're really not being overlooked. But that this is literally an intentional space that God is giving you to hone your craft. He's giving you an opportunity. You know, business may not be booming the way you want it to be, but he's giving you an opportunity to develop SOPs, standard operating procedures. He's giving you time to, you know, get your personal life together, because half of us, you know, we want the success in other areas that, you know, we really can't sustain at home. Our kids' hair wouldn't be combed. Our husband be mad, or, you know, if we don't have that, you know, we don't make up our bed now, and we want to be booked and busy. Get up and start making up your bed. You know what I'm saying? Just simple things like that. Change the way that you're looking at this space. And in closing, I just want to challenge every single one of you today. Tonight before you go home, or tonight when you go home, before you go to sleep, take a moment and just write down, according to the 3 areas, how can I increase my value? How can I increase my worth? Because trust me, you may be very valuable right now, but you can always be worth more. So what can I do? How can I become a woman of more integrity? What part of me do I need to be working on? I'm reading an amazing book right now called Managing Your Emotions by Joyce Meyer. When I tell you it's one of the best books I have ever read in my life. I mean, it's an amazing book, but that's something that I have been focusing on. Okay, I recognize this is an issue. I can control my reactions a little better than what I am. I can manage my emotions better than what I am. So while I'm in this space of transition, where I'm waiting for some other things to happen, let me deal with me in the area of integrity. What am I doing and what am I saying when nobody's looking? Let me deal with me in that area. Intentionality. What in your life can you be more intentional about? What are you complaining about? Are you sitting and looking in the mirror every day, talking about, I wish I could lose weight, or are you going to the gym?
Come on now.
What are you being intentional about? Because I guarantee you there's some more things that you could be more intentional about. And the last thing, investment. If you don't hear nothing else today, please hear that. Invest in yourself. What are you doing to invest in yourself? If I asked everybody in this room, what book are you reading right now? Who's going to stutter? Don't even do it. I don't want to embarrass you. You know? So how are you? And literally, that's something that I've made it a point I have 2 products with me. I have my book, True Confessions of a Visionary, and I also have a workbook that serves as an accountability guide for the actual book. But in my workbook, I deal with 7 different areas of vision execution that I focus on every year. I challenge myself in these areas of my life every year. And one of those areas is education. Am I in school right now? No, but I challenge myself in education every year. What am I doing to advance my craft? When I was a hairstylist, I was going to shows, I was taking classes. I'm a business owner. I own a couple of different businesses. Well, right now, I'm working on the escape plan. You know, what am I doing when I leave here? You know, when I transition out of here, I'm reading a book now called Walk Away Wealthy. Wow. I'm challenging myself in that area. Well, you know what? I definitely could do better in my finances. So what am I doing to invest back in that? You know, like, be intentional about that. And I guarantee you, if you're honest, you can find something in every single one of those areas that you can do to increase your value. You're an amazing woman now, but you haven't even scratched the surface of what you could be. If you didn't have any potential left, then you can just go ahead and close your eyes right now. Please don't do this, but you can close your eyes right now and just collapse in the floor. But literally, God has given you breath, and He's given you opportunity to continue to grow and continue to be better. One thing my daddy used to always say, God rest his soul, he used to always say, anytime somebody accomplished something, if they graduated, if they met a goal, he would say, good job, you know, all that. And then he would say, don't park here. That was good, that was great, but what's next? Because there's always a next. Be proud of yourself. You're worth it. You're wonderful. You're great. But don't park here. We're all created equal. But what you do after creation is going to determine your worth.